I'm live. I am live. Okay. Um, Took a bit of a break from reading this so that I could stop drinking because that definitely ruined the later end of my last one. But class is in session, and we're gonna read chapter 2. We left off with Jonathan Harker traveling to Castle Dracula, and a lot of people from other villages of other towns were very freaked out. Like, hey, don't go there. Don't do that. Please don't go there. And well, he went along the way, and I wanted to make a correction. Something that I read like shit was like the carriage driver, who I think is Dracula. Um, they're being surrounded by wolves, Jonathan Harker and the carriage driver. And the carriage driver gets out and like does the wacky waving inflatable tube man thing to scare the wolves away. And Jonathan Harker saw a blue flame, but the driver was standing between Jonathan Harker and the blue flame. So he could see the blue flame through the driver. And I don't know what the blue flame is. I've read this book and never remember anything about that. But we got some water. Maybe we'll find out. I did Google it and it still didn't make much sense. Anyways, let's get into it. I'm trying to think if there's anything before we get into it. Trying to think if there's anything else that I wanted to touch up on. Istanzek? Nope. I know what I should do. I should let Instagram know. Oh.
Right here.
Stop talking. Oh, I was trying to tie a tie and it did not turn out as well as I thought. This looks terrible. I mean, I at least got it tied, but it doesn't look anything like in the video. And I watched the same video like 15 million times. Okay. I've got the link. I've got none of that. My fly's down. I'll fix that in a moment. I'll fix it right now. How'd that happen? Oh no, not that way. Excellent. Added to stories. Okay. Oops. I still want this. I still want this up. Okay. Chapter 2. Although I just remembered I wanted to talk about something before I started. It's kind of irrelevant. Okay. Jonathan Harker's journal continued. On the 5th of May, that's another correction I wanted to make. When he was talking about the trees that were like fiery something, I thought he was referring to fall. Maybe in this part of the world during May it is fall. I don't know. I don't think so, but I guess it's possible. On the 5th of May, I must have been asleep, for certainly if I had been fully awake, I must have noticed the approach to such remarkable place. In the gloom, the courtyard looked of considerable size, and as several dark ways led from it under great round arches, it perhaps seemed bigger than it really is. I have not yet been able to see it by daylight. When the caliche stopped and the driver jumped down and held out his hand to assist me to alight, again, I could not but notice his prodigious strength. His hand actually seemed like a steel vise that could have crushed mine if he had chosen. I know when dickheads fucking shake your hand like that, like it's so good to meet you or good to see you, and they just fucking squeeze. Dane Cook made a joke about it, so I don't want to steal that joke. But damn, I hate that. Then he took out my traps, and it's got a little wand next to it. I wonder where I look to see what that means. Okay. Help him took out his traps. Excuse me, I'm so sorry. It's annoying. Then he took out my traps and placed them on the ground beside me as I stood close to a great door, old and studded with large iron nails, and set in a projecting doorway of massive stone. I could see even in the dim light that the stone was massively carved, but that the carving had been much worn by the time and weather. As I stood, the driver jumped again into a seat and shook the reins, and the horses started forward, and trap and all disappeared down one of the dark openings. I don't know what he means by trap, though. I don't. I stood in silence where I was, for I did not know what to do. Of bell or knocker there was no sign. Through these frowning walls and dark window openings, it was not likely that my voice could penetrate. Love that word. The time I waited seemed endless, and I felt doubts and fears crowding upon me. What sort of place had I come to, and among what kind of people? What sort of grim adventure was it on which I had embarked? Was this a customary incident in the life of solicitor's clerk sent out to explain the purchase of a London estate to a foreigner? Solicitor's clerk. Mina would not like that. Solicitor. For just before leaving London, I got word that my examination was successful, and I am now a full-blown solicitor. Wow, congratulations. I began to rub my eyes and pinch. I began to rub my eyes and pinch myself to see if I were awake. It all seemed like a horrible nightmare to me, and I expected that I should suddenly awake and find myself at home, with the dawn struggling in through the windows, as I had now and again felt in the morning after a day of overwork. That was a long sentence. Don't do that again, please. But my flesh answered the pinching test, and my eyes were not to be deceived. I was indeed awake and among the Carpathians. All I could do now was to be patient and to wait the coming of the morning. So he's a solicitor now. We have signs for those all over the place, like no soliciting. His job probably didn't hold up in today's age, but 1897, sure, go for it. Just as I had come to this conclusion, I heard a heavy step approaching behind the great door, and saw through the chinks the gleam of a coming light. Then there was the sound of rattling chains and the clanking of massive boots drawn back. A key was turned with the loud grating noise of long disuse, and the great door swung back. Within stood a tall old man, clean-shaven save for a long white mustache, and clad in black from head to foot, without a single speck of color about him anywhere. He held in his hand an antique silver lamp, in which the flame burned without chimney or a globe of any kind. Would it be blue flame? Throwing long quivering shadows as it flickered in the draught of the open draft. That word tricked me. I'm a goober. It's draft. It looks like draught, but I lost my place. Of the open door. The old man motioned me in with his right hand with a courtly gesture, saying in excellent English, but with a strange intonation. Sorry, intonation. Welcome to my house. Enter freely and of your own will. Because that's Dracula. He made no motion of stepping to meet me, but stood like a statue, as though his gesture of welcome had fixed him into stone. I like those. That's a cool sentence. He made no motion of stepping to meet me, but stood like a statue, as though his gesture of welcome had fixed him into stone. That's pretty badass. That the instant, however, that I had stepped over the threshold, he moved impulsively forward, and holding out his hand, grasped mine with a strength which made me wince. Again with that. Just dickhead fucking crush you when you shake hands. Uh, an effect which was not lessened by the fact that it seemed as cold as ice, more like a hand of a dead than a living man. Again he said, "Welcome to my house. Come freely, go safely, and leave something of happiness you bring." Of the happiness you bring. I watched the movie with Keanu Reeves and Winona Ryder. Shout out to Winona Ryder for being just like a childhood crush and probably like still a celebrity crush to this day. Um, I kind of enjoyed watching it this time. It wasn't too bad. I just remembered watching it after reading this book and being like, what the fuck is going on? The strength of the handshake was so much akin to that which I had noticed in the driver, yeah, because it's Dracula, whose face I had not seen, that for a moment I doubted if it were not the same person to whom I was speaking. So to make sure, I said interrogatively, "Count Dracula?" I'm trying to voice it kind of like a twink would. Maybe I'm doing just fine naturally. Self burn, nice. Uh, he bowed in a courtly way as he replied, "I am Dracula, and I bid you welcome, Mr. Harker, to my house. Come in. The night air is chill, and you must need to eat and rest." As he was speaking, he put the lamp on a bracket on the wall, and stepping out, took my luggage. He had carried it in before I could forestall him. I protested, but he insisted, "Nay, sir, you are my guest. It is late, and my people are not available. Let me see to your comfort myself." He insisted on carrying my traps along the passage, and then up a great winding stair, and along another great passage, on whose stone floor our steps rang heavily. At the end of this he threw open a heavy door, and I rejoiced to see within a well-lit room in which a table was spread for supper, and on whose mighty hearth a great fire of logs flamed and flared. Okay, it's dinner time. I suppose Jonathan wants to tell us all about his dinner, like he had in the first chapter several times. The Count halted, putting down my bags, closed the door, and crossing the room, opened another door, which led into a small octagonal room lit by a single lamp, and seemingly without a window of any sort. Passing through this, he opened another door and motioned me to enter. So a lot of doors in a castle. Who would have thought? It was a welcome sight, for here was a great bedroom well lighted and warmed with another log fire, which sent a hollow roar up the wide chimney. The Count himself left my luggage inside and withdrew, saying, before he closed the door, "You will need after your journey to refresh yourself by making your toilet. I trust you will find all you wish. When you are ready, come into the other room." Ooh, ooh, oh gosh. Where you will find your supper prepared. The light and warmth in the Count's courteous welcome seemed to have dissipated all my doubts and fears. Having then reached my normal state, I discovered I was half famished with hunger. So, making a hasty toilet, I went into the other room. Hasty toilet. Quick pee. Shout out good long pee. I found supper already laid out. My host, who stood on me side of the great My host, who stood on one, how did I read me? Who stood on one side of the great fireplace, leaning against the stonework, made a graceful wave of his hand to the table and said, "I pray you, be seated and sup how you please. You will, I trust. Excuse me that I do not join you, but I have dined already, and I do not sup." I handed him the sealed letter which Mr. Hawkins had entrusted to me. He opened it and read it gravely. Then, with a charming smile, he handed it to me to read. One passage of it, at least, gave me a thrill of pleasure. I'm. Is this Dracula? I don't know if this is Dracula. I don't think so. I think it's the one passage. I much regret that an attack of gout, from which, my lady, I am a constant sufferer, forbids absolutely any traveling on my part for time to come. But I am happy to say that I can send a sufficient substitute, one in whom I have every possible confidence. Yeah. He is a young man, full of energy and talent in his own way, and of a very faithful disposition. He is discreet and silent, and has grown into manhood in my service. He shall be ready to attend on you when you will during his stay. Ooh, that was tricky. And shall take your instructions in all manners. Okay, so this guy's just vouching for Jonathan Harker and even goes as far as to say he's become a man through his company. Interesting choice of words. The Count himself came forward and took off a cover of the dish, and I fell to at once on an excellent roast chicken. Fell to at once. Okay. This, with some cheese and a salad and a bottle of old Tokay, I don't know, of which I had 2 glasses, was my supper. During the time I was eating, the Count asked me During the time I was eating it, the Count asked me many questions as to my journey, and I told him by degrees all I had experienced. By this time I had finished my supper, and by my host's desire, had drawn up a chair by the fire, and begun to smoke a cigar which he offered me, at the same time excusing himself that he did not smoke. Loser. I had now an opportunity of observing him, and found him a very marked physiognomy. Physiognomy. Don't look that up. The fuck is that? Physiognomy. The practice of judging a person's character or personality from their outer appearance, especially facial features. So, discrimination in a way. Yeah. His face was a very strong, aquiline, with high bridge of the thin nose and peculiarly arched nostrils, with lofty domed forehead and hair growing scantily around the temples, but profusely everywhere. His eyebrows were very massive, almost meeting over the nose, and with bushy hair that seemed to curl in its own profusion. The mouth, so far as I could see it under his heavy mustache, was fixed and rather cruel looking, with peculiarly sharp white teeth. These protruded over the lips, whose remarkable ruddiness showed astonishing vitality in a man of his years. For the rest, his ears were pale, and at the tops extremely pointed. The chin was broad and strong, and the cheeks firm though thin. The general effect was one of extraordinary pallor. Hitherto, I had noticed the backs of his hands as they lay on his knees in the firelight, and they had seemed rather white and fine, but seeing them now close to me, I could not but notice that they were rather coarse, broad, with squat fingers. Strange to say, there were hairs in the center of the palm. That is weird. The nails were long and fine, and cut to a sharp point. As the Count leaned over me, and his hands touched me, I could not repress a shudder. Ugh. It may have been that his breath was rank, but a horrible feeling of nausea came over me, which, do what I would, I could not conceal. The Count, evidently noticing it, drew back, and with a grim sort of smile, which showed more than he had done yet his protuberant teeth, sat himself down again on his own side of the fireplace. We were both silent for a while, and as I looked towards the window, I saw the first dim streak of, of the coming dawn. There deemed a strange silliness over everything, but as I listened, I heard it as if from down below in the valley of the howling of many wolves. The Count's eyes gleamed, and he said, "Listen to them, the children of the night. Such sweet music they play." I was doing that by memory, lost my place. Yeah, was what music they make. Seeing, I suppose, some expression in my face strange to him, he added, "Ah, sir, you dwellers in the city cannot enter into the feelings of the hunter. You city slickers suck," is what he said. Then he rose and said, "But you must be tired. Your bedroom is all ready, and tomorrow you shall sleep as late as you will." "Ah, ah, 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 ah. I have to be away till the afternoon, so sleep well and dream well." And with a courteous bow, he opened for me himself the door to the octagonal room, and I entered my bedroom. I am all in a sea of wonders. I doubt, I fear, I think strange things which I dare not confess to my own soul. God keep me, if only for the sake of those dear to me. Okay, so he got the he's got the ick. He doesn't really know how to feel, and he also doesn't even want to like think about how he feels, because he's so unsure. And Dracula says he's going to have to be gone until the afternoon tomorrow. So now the next journal entry is 2 days later, on the 7th of May. It is again early morning, but I have rested and enjoyed the last 24 hours. I slept till late in the day and awoke of my own accord. When I had dressed myself, I went into the room where we had supped and found a cold breakfast laid out, with coffee kept hot by the pot placed on the hearth. There was a card on the table, on which was written, "I have to be absent for a while. Do not wait for me." Signed, D. So, I set to and enjoyed a hearty meal, which apparently was cold. When I had done, I looked for a bell so that I might let the servants know I had finished, but I could not find one. There are certainly odd deficiencies in the house, considering the extraordinary evidences of wealth which are around me. The table service is of gold, and so beautifully wrought that it must be of immense value. The curtains in the upholstery of the chairs and sofas and the hangings of my bed are of the costliest and most beautiful fabrics, and must have been of fabulous value when they were made, for they are centuries old, though in excellent order. I like that image I'm seeing, just like a rich, wealthy person's. I don't know, just I can see it. Can't you? Can't you see it? Um, I shouldn't have stopped there. Okay, I saw something like them in Hampton Court. Okay, but they were worn and frayed and moth-eaten. But still, in none of the rooms is there a mirror. There is not even a toilet glass on my table, and I had to get the little shaving glass from my bag before I could either shave or brush my hair. I have not yet seen a servant anywhere or heard a sound near the castle except the howling of wolves. When I had finished my meal, I do not know whether to call it breakfast or dinner, for it was between 5 and 6 o'clock. What? When I had it. Okay, what? Well, I mean, that's a big difference, breakfast and dinner. I looked about for something to read, for I did not like to go about the castle until I had asked the Count's permission. There was absolutely nothing in the room, book, there was absolutely nothing in the room, book, newspaper, or even writing materials. So I opened another door in the room and found a sort of library. The door opposed mine I tried, but found it locked. In the library I found, to my great delight, a vast number of English books, whole shelves full of them, and bound volumes of magazines and newspapers. A table in the center was littered with English. Did I just read that? No. A table in the center was littered with English magazines and newspapers, though none of them were of very recent date. The books were of the most varied kind: history, geography, politics, political economy, botany, geology, law. I don't like how he didn't put and between geology and law, all relating to England and English life and customs and manners. There were even such books of reference as the London Directory, the Red and the Blues books, Whitaker's Almanac, the Army and Navy lists, and it somehow gladdened my heart to see it, the Law List. It's a man of the law, I guess. That's fine. Good boys are. What's up? Good boy. Whilst I oh gosh, well, whilst I was looking at the books, the door opened and the count entered. He saluted me in a hearty way and hoped that I had a good night's rest. Then he went on, "I am glad you found your way in here, for I am sure there is much that will interest you. These friends," and he laid his hand on some of these books, "have been good friends to me, and for some years past, ever since I had the idea of going to London, have given me many, many hours of pleasure. Wah, 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 wah. Through them I have come to know your great England, and to know her is to love her." That's good. Respect. Respect goes a long way. Speaking of the word long, I long to go through the crowded streets of your mighty London, to be in the midst of the whirl and rush of humanity, to share its life and to change its death and all that makes it what it is. But alas, as yet I only know your tongue through books. To you, my friend, I look that I know it to speak. "But Count," I said, "you know English. You know and speak English thoroughly." He bowed gravely. I said that kind of weird. He bowed gravely. "I thank you, my friend, for your all too flattering estimate, but yet I fear that I am a little way on the road I would travel. True, I know the grammar and the words, but yet I know not how to speak them." "Indeed," I said, "you speak excellently." "Not so," he answered. "Well, I know that did I move and speak in your London, none there are who would not know me for a stranger." "Well, I know that did I move and speak in your London, none there are who would not know me for a stranger." "That is not enough for me. Here I am noble, I am boyar, the common people know me, and I am master. Wah, 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 wah. But the stranger in a strange land, he is no one. Men know him not, and to know not is to care not for." Kind of like to know England is to love her. I can't get over how weird my tie looks. I did a bad job. I did my best though. Um, okay. "I am content if I am like the rest, so that no man stops me if he sees me, or pause in his speaking if he hear my words to say, ah, ah, a stranger. uh, I have been so long master that I would be master still, or at least that none other should be master of me. You come to me not alone as agent of my friend Peter Hawkins of Exeter? Of Exeter, to tell me about my new estate in London. You shall, I trust, rest here with me a while, so that by our talking I may learn English intonation, and I would that you tell me when I make error, even of the smallest in my speaking. I am sorry that I had to be away so long today, but you will, I know, forgive one who has so many important affairs in hand." Of course, I said I could about being willing. Of course, I said all I could about being willing, and asked if I might come into that room which when I chose. He answered, "Yes, certainly," and added, "You may go anywhere you wish in the castle, except where the doors are locked, where, of course, you will not wish to go. There is reason that all things are as they are, and did you see with my eyes and know with my knowledge, you would perhaps better understand." I said I was sure of this, and then he went on. I'm tired of reading like him, though. Oh well. "We are in Transylvania, and Transylvania is not England. No shit. Our ways are not your ways, and there shall be to you many strange things. Nay, from what you have told me of your experiences already, you know something of what strange things here may be." This led to much conversation. It led to a lot of conversation. And it was evident that he wanted to talk, if only for talking's sake. I asked him many questions regarding things that had already happened to me or come within my notice. Sometimes he sheered off the subject or turned the conversation by pretending not to understand, but generally he answered all I asked most frankly. Then, as time went on, and I had gotten somewhat bolder, no, sorry about that. That's so annoying. Bolder. I asked him if some. Oh my goodness, it's only making it worse. I'm just going to mute. I hope that I was muted. That was silly. Sometimes he sheered off the subject or turned the conversation by pretending not to understand, but generally he answered all I asked most frankly. Then, as time went on, and I had gotten somewhat bolder. Oh, what? Uh, Anyway, sorry. Um, I asked him of some of the strange things preceding night, as for instance, why the coachman went to the places where we had seen the blue flames. Was it indeed true that they showed where gold was hidden? He then explained to me that it was commonly believed that on a certain night of the year, last night, in fact, wait a minute, okay, this keeps popping up. So this is on the 7th of May. I swore I started on the 5th of May. Yes. So what happened to the 6th? That's weird. It's really weird. Sorry, it's just been in the back of, well, the front of my mind reading this. He then explained to me that it was commonly believed that on a certain night of the year, last night, in fact, when all evil spirits are supposed to have unchecked sway, a blue flame is seen over any place where treasure has been concealed. Okay, there we go. I got my answer to the blue flame thing. And I looked it up on Google before this stream and saw that superstition that gold, if you saw blue flame, gold was there, treasure. Um, that treasure has been hidden. That the treasure has been hidden. He went on. In the region through which you came last night, there can be but little doubt, for it was the ground fought over for centuries by the Valaisan, the Saxon, and the Turk. Why? There is hardly a foot of soil in all this region that has not been enriched by the blood of man, patriot, or invader. In old days there were stirring times, when the Austrian and the Hungarian came up in hordes, and the patriots went out to meet them, men and women, the aged and children too. Ooh, I just spit really hard. And waited their coming on the rocks above the passes that they might sweep destruction on them with their artificial avalanches. When the invader was triumphant, he found but little for whatever there had been sheltered in the friendly soil. But how, said I, can it have remained so long undiscovered when there is sure index to it if men. I'm not doing that. When there is sure index to it if men will be take. But okay, this is a fucked sentence. But how, said I, can it have remained so long undiscovered when there is a sure index to it if men will but take the trouble to look? Oh fuck. He's basically just saying how can it still be like buried and like no one's like checking, you know? Oh gosh. The Count smiled, and his lips ran back over his gums. The long, sharp canine teeth showed out strangely. He answered. Showed out strangely. Pause. He answered. Pause. Because your peasant is at heart a coward and a fool. Those flames only appear on one night. Thank you, Crispy Bacon. Good to see you. It's good to see you. Thank you for that. Check it. Let's get the full thing going. Scooby-Doo belt, tucked in, tie. I got pens in my pocket, glasses. Dude, they say to dress for the job you want. Something like that. I want to be a teacher, maybe. Maybe. Huh. Okay. Said your peasant is a heart, coward, and a fool. I will check back with you after this paragraph. Those flames only appear on one night, and on that night no man of this land will, if he can help it, stir without his doors. And, dear sir, even if he did, he would not know what to do. Why, even the peasant that you tell me of, who marked the place of the flame, would not know where to look in daylight, even for his own work. You would not, I dare be sworn, be able to find these places again. Banker brother? A banker. Oh, yeah. Give me your money. Thanks for stopping in again. I know I said that already, but I don't think you've been in one of my streams before, so it's just nice to see you. It's good to see anybody. Anybody and everybody. There you are right, I said. I know no more of the dead, where even to look for them. Then we drifted into other matters. Come, he said at last, tell me of London and of the house which you have procured for me. With an apology for my remissness, I went into my own room to get the papers from my bag. Whilst I was placing them in order, I had heard rattling of china and silver in the next room, and as I passed through, noticed that the table had been cleared and the lamp lit, for it was by this time deep into the dark. The lamps were also lit in the study or library, and I found the Count lying on the sofa, reading, of all things in the world, an English Bradshaw's Guide. When I came in, he cleared the books and papers from the table, and with him I went into plans and deeds and figures of all sorts. He was interested in everything, and asked me a myriad of questions about the place and its surroundings. He clearly had studied beforehand all he could get on the subject of the neighborhood, for evidently, at the end, knew very much more than I did. When I remarked this, he answered, well, but, my friend, it is not needful that I should. When I when I go there, I shall be all alone, and my friend Harker Jonathan, nay, pardon me, I fall into my country's habit of putting your patronymic first. Patronymic. Okay. My friend Jonathan Harker will not be my wayside to correct and aid me. He will be in Exeter, miles away, probably working at papers of the law with my other friend Peter Hawkins. So, we went thoroughly into the business of the purchase of the estate at Purefleet. Wow. Yeah, dude. Welcome in. Figured it's best if I read a paragraph, then check chat. Chat's not too popping tonight. That's okay. It's kind of late. But this might make for a good video to watch in the future. I don't know. I don't care too much either. I'm having fun. When I had told him the facts and got his signature to the necessary papers, and had written a letter with them ready to post to Mr. Hawkins, he began to ask me how I had come across so suitable a place. I read to him the notes which I had made at the time, and which I inscribe here. At Purefleet, on a byroad, I came across such a place as seemed to be required, and where was displayed the dilapidated notice that the place was for sale. It is surrounded by a high wall of ancient structure, built of heavy stones, and has not been repaired for a large number of years. The closed gates were of heavy old oak and iron, all eaten with rust. Who's saying this? I don't know. The estate is called Carfax. No doubt a corruption of the old Quatre Fils, as the house is four-sided, agreeing with the cardinal points of the compass. It contains in all some 20 acres, quite surrounded by the solid stone wall above mentioned. There are many trees on it, which make it in places gloomy, and there is a deep, dark-looking pond or small lake, evidently fed by some springs, as the water is clear and flows away in a fair-sized stream. The house is very large, and of all periods back, I should say, to medieval times, for one part is of stone immensely thick, with only a few windows high up, and heavily barred with iron. It looks like a part of a keep, and is close to an old chapel or church. I could not enter it, as I had not the key of the door leading to it from the house, but I have taken with my kodak views of it from various points. The house has been added to, but in a very straggling way, and I can only guess at the amount of ground it covers, which must be very great. There are but few houses close at hand. One being a very large house, only recently added to and formed into a private lunatic asylum. Ooh, I know where that goes. It is not, however, visible from the grounds. Ah, glad you go live. Seen you in Ben's live. Well, love Ben, and I love his viewers. Shout out to Down in the Well. Anybody watching this in the future not subscribed to Down in the Well, you're missing out on really good content, because that is one charismatic guy. I like to call him Osama bin Lincoln just because of the beard. It's not a nice thing to say, but I don't mean anything bad by it, and I think he knows that. But I'm sure he's probably annoyed by now. Yeah. When I had finished, he said, "I am glad that it is old and big." Sometimes I like to read sentences and make them a little pervy. So I'm sure you can figure out where my mind is going there. He likes old and big things. I myself am of an old family, and to live in a new house would kill me. A house cannot be made habitable. Okay, that I know that word, habitable. It just looks weird. In a day, and after all, how few days go to make up a century. I rejoice also that there is a chapel of old times. We Transylvanian nobles love not to think that our bones may be among the common dead. I seek not gaiety nor mirth, but the bright voluptuousness of my sunshine and sparkling waters, which please the young and gay. Now it's 1897. That means happy. I am no longer young. In my heart, through weary years of mourning over the dead, is not attuned to mirth. Moreover, the walls of my castle are broken, the shadows are many, and the wind breathes cold through the broken battlements and casements. I love the shade and the shadow, and would be alone with my thoughts when I may. Okay. Dracula's doing so much fucking talking this chapter. It's good. It's a good thing. I shouldn't have made the commitment to the voice. I feel it's cringe. It is cringe, but I made that decision. I made my bed. Somehow his words and his look did not seem to accord, or else it was that his cast of face made his smile look malignant and saturnine. Ooh, I don't know that word. Saturnine. Shake my camera. S-A-T, Saturn. Ein. Slow and gloomy. Alrighty. Presently, with an excuse, he left me. He left me, asking me to put all my papers together. He was some little time away, and I began to look at some of the books around me. One was an atlas, which I found opened naturally at England, as if that map had been much used. On looking at it, I found certain places, little rings marked, and examining these, I noticed that one was near London on the east side, manifestly where his new estate was situated. The other two were Exeter and Whitby on the Yorkshire coast. It was a better part of an hour when the Count returned. Aha! Is that how Dracula would say aha? Yeah, it's been a long time since I read this book. Same here. I read this, I want to say, in 2012. But I really loved it, especially the end. The ending was so badass. Aha! I'm trying to. How would Dracula say aha? I don't know. I don't know. Still at your books. Good. But you must not work always. Come, I am informed that your supper is ready. He took my arm and we went into the next room where I found an excellent supper ready on the table. So he didn't describe the last. He said it was like roast chicken or something, but he didn't go into detail like he did in the first chapter. Anyways, the Count again excused himself, as he had dined out on his being away from home, but he sat, as on the previous night, and chatted whilst I ate. After supper I smoked, as on the last evening, and the Count stayed with me, chatting and asking questions on every conceivable subject, hour after hour. I felt that it was getting very late indeed, but I did not say anything, for I felt under obligation to meet my host's wishes in every way. I know that feeling. I was not sleepy, as the long sleep yesterday had fortified me, but I could not help experiencing that chill which comes over one at the coming of the dawn, which is like, in its way, the turn of the tide. They say that people who are near death die generally at the change to the dawn or the turn of the tide. Interesting. Anyone who has, when tired and tied as it were to his post, experienced this change in the atmosphere can well believe it. I didn't read that one too well, but whatever. There's more words to read that I'll read better. All at once, we heard the crow of a cock. Whoa! They've got cocks? Well, of course, it's two dudes. For sure, the ending is great. Absolutely agree. Crispy Bacon Bits 420. Also, um, I do like your name quite a bit. Crispy Bacon Bits 420. I like the 420 part quite a lot. I heard the crow of a cock coming up with a perpetual shrillness through the clear morning air. Count Dracula, jumping to his feet, said, "Why is there the why there is the morning again? How remiss I am to let you stay up so long. You must make your conversation regarding my dear new country of England less interesting, so that I may not forget how time flies by us. And, with a courtly bow, he left me. I live in Colorado as well. I live in the Springs. Um, I like it here. It's a nice place. It's a little too busy for me, though. I miss my small town that I'm from. But Colorado Springs is so huge that I can say I'm from Colorado Springs, and I don't feel too worried about people I don't know knowing that. The Springs is massive. It's not the biggest, but it's big for me. Um, I went into my own room and drew the curtains, but there was little to notice. My window opened into the courtyard, and all I could see was the warm gray of quickening sky. So I pulled the curtains again, and have written of this day. Grand Junction. Have I been to Grand Junction? What's I'm is Telluride near you? Because I've been to Telluride a bunch of times. I'm trying to think of how I know Grand Junction. I don't quite remember it though. Lovely state, and I like our laws here. Decriminalized mushrooms, marijuana, castle doctrine. Way south of you, they hold country gym and I don't know what that means. They hold country jam and mac. I feel very unintelligent reading that. Country jam. I'm sorry. If you would like to explain it, feel free to. I'm going to read this paragraph and I'll be right back. So now we're on the 8th of May. I'm still really annoyed by like never seeing the 6th of May. And like I see the 5th of May. That's the beginning of the chapter. And then it jumps to the 7th, and then they talk about, oh, last night was the evil night. Well, no, the evil night was the night that he arrived. So, yeah, there's no May 6th mention. Oh, huge music festival. Okay. And Telluride does bluegrass festivals. Well, they do all kinds of stuff. Have you ever been to Telluride? Beautiful. Just like heaven on earth. I'll get back to you. 8th of May, I began to fear as I wrote in this book that I was getting too diffuse. But now I am glad that I went into detail from the first, for there is something so strange about this place and all in it that I cannot but feel uneasy. I wish there was I wish I were safe out of it, or that I had never come. It may be that this strange night existence is telling on me. But would that that were all. But would that were all. What? Okay, let's try that one more time. I don't think I'm going to read it any better though, because that just it looks like a puzzle scattered in the wrong piece put in the wrong place. It may be that this strange night existence is telling on me, but would that were all. Sure, old English. If there were anyone to talk to, I could bear, but there is no one. I have only the Count to speak with, and I fear I am myself the only living soul within this place. Let me be prosaic, so far as facts can be. It will help me to bear up, and imagination must not run riot with me. If it does, I am lost. Let me say at once how I stand, or seem to. That was tough. Sometimes I can read this, sometimes I can't. I think, yeah, we have a page and a half left, and then I'm going to be wrapping up. Been there a long time ago? Well, at least you went there a long time ago. because it's become modernized Telluride, and like tourists have made it a weirder place. Like they used to have this candy shop called the Sweet Life, and there they had burgers that tasted like a Burger King Whopper, but like with incredibly fresh ingredients. So it was just like a Whopper on steroids. That place doesn't exist. Another good restaurant that Smugglers Smugglers sucks now. I don't know. It's just as the years go by, it's still beautiful. You're not going to change the beauty of the place because the mountains are what make it that way. But the like really good restaurants are going away. Yep, that is for sure. It has become too overfilled with out of towners all year round. Yeah, and I mean, like, I'm one of them because I've never lived in Telluride, but like, I've only supported the places that I no longer have because I don't know. It's kind of like my favorite candy was a Wonka bar. They don't make Wonka bars anymore. Well, favorite chocolate candy. My other favorite candy would have been Sour Jacks, which got fucked by Sour Patch Kids. Sour Jacks is so much better. It's just my favorite things go away. I'm cursed to like run good shit out of business, I guess. I'm like Dracula. I only slept a few hours when I went to bed, and feeling that I could not sleep anymore, got up. I had hung my shaving glass by the window and was just beginning to shave. Suddenly, I felt a hand on my shoulder and heard the Count's voice saying to me, "Good morning." I started, for it amazed me that I had not seen him since the reflection of the glass covered the whole room behind me. In starting, I had cut myself slightly, but did not notice it at the moment. Having answered the Count's salutation, I turned to the glass again to see how I had been mistaken. This time there could be no error, for the man was close to me, and I could see him over my shoulder, but there was no reflection of him in the mirror. The whole room behind me was displayed, but there was no sign of a man in it, except myself. This was startling, and coming on the top of so many strange things, was beginning to increase that vague feeling of uneasiness which I always have when the Count is near. But at the instant that I saw that he saw, okay, I just went dyslexic. Whoa. But at the instant I saw that the cut had bled a little, and the blood was trickling over my chin. I didn't read that well at all. Okay, he cut himself, is on his chin. I can read it, just not in the proper tone. I laid down the razor, turning as I did so half round to look for some sticking plaster. When the Count saw my face, his eyes blazed with some sort of demonic fury, and he suddenly made a grab at my throat. I drew away, and his hand touched the string of the beads which held my crucifix. It made an instant change in him, for the fury passed so quickly that I could hardly believe that it was ever there. Okay, there we go. Butterfinger? Ooh, that's a good one, man. Well, I will do you a favor and not buy those, lest they be run out of business. That is a really good one. I can taste it just thinking about it. And it also is like reminding me of the Reese's Breakfasts. I don't know if they still make those. I think so. But that's a good one too. It's kind of similar, I think. Just from my memory. I could be wrong. Um Take care, he said. Take care how you cut yourself. It is more dangerous than you think in this country. Then, seizing the shaving glass, he went on, "And this is the wretched thing that has done the mischief. It is a foul bauble of man's vanity. Away with it!" And opening the heavy window with one wrench of his terrible hand, he flung out the glass, which was shattered into 1,000 pieces on the stones of the courtyard far below. Then he withdrew without a word. It is very annoying, for I do not see how I am to shave unless in my watch case or the bottom of the shaving pot, which is fortunately of metal. Whew. All right, we have like 2 paragraphs left. I can buy them. Yeah, but I don't want to like, you know. Butterfinger does sound so good right now, though. I'll contact my people and I'll have them buy it and then give it to me. It's a workaround, a legal workaround. Um, when I went to the dining room, breakfast was prepared, but I could not find the count anywhere. So I ate breakfast alone. It is strange that as yet I have not seen the count eat or drink. He must be a very peculiar man. After breakfast, I did a little exploring in the castle. I went out on the stairs and found a room looking towards the south. The view was magnificent, and from where I stood, there was every opportunity of seeing it. The castle is on the very edge of a terrible precipice. A stone falling from the window would fall 1,000 feet without touching anything. As far as the eye can reach is a sea of green treetops, with occasionally a deep rift where there is a chasm. Here and there. He said here and there again. He said that like 5 fucking times in the first chapter, but only once in the second. Here and there are silver threads where the rivers wind in deep gorges through the forests. But I am not in heart to describe beauty, for when I had seen the view, I explored further. Doors, 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 everywhere, doors, and all locked and bolted. In no place, save from the windows in the castle walls, is there an available exit. This castle is a veritable prison, and I am a prisoner. So I need to look up veritable. First stream I did not look up the words that confused me. And now I'm going to do that. Veritable, used as an intensifier, often to qualify a metaphor. Okay, so I'm a fucking prisoner. That's basically what he said. So that's chapter 2. Yeah, first chapter, traveling to the castle, talking about dinner, talking about people signing the cross every time they found out where he was going. Second chapter, still talked about dinner, but didn't go into detail. Only said here and there once. My tie looks like shit. I'm gonna practice at that. Oh, that looks ridiculous. Okay. That's gonna wrap up this stream. I try not to stray off the topic too much, so that people watching in the future, if there are any, they're not like, I don't want to listen to all this bullshit. So I'm gonna call it there. Thank you for coming in, Crispy Bacon Bits 420. Blaze it, dude. Good to see you. Thanks much. You have a good night, and I will hopefully see you soon. Goodbye. Thank you.